Well, hi, and welcome to Radical Romance, From Roommates to Soulmates. I'm David Steele, founder of Relationship Coaching Institute and co-author of Radical Marriage. And with me tonight is my soulmate, co-author of Radical Marriage, Darlene Steele. Welcome, Darlene.
Well, thank you, and what a great topic to have in this month of February.
Yeah, it's February, and this is a big month for us here at Relationship Coaching Institute. We definitely want to acknowledge it and make a big deal about it. And what better thing to do than to conduct a webinar on romance? So that's why we're here. So thank you for being here, and let's go ahead and get started. So we have a question for you. What do you think is the difference between a couple being roommates and soulmates? It is very common in the beginning of a relationship to have a lot of romantic energy and activity going on. And then as a relationship evolves and you're together for a while, it's almost like you take each other for granted, or at least you get comfortable, right? You get into routines, and then romance goes out the window. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of romantic energy that sustains itself after some period of time, whether it's a month, a week, 6 months, a year, 5 years. There's some period of time after which, you no longer bother doing all that stuff. And so then if it's going to happen, it's going to happen through effort and conscious choice, and that is what radical marriage is all about, creating the relationship and the life together that you really want rather than just settling for the default or what's comfortable or what's routine. So what do you think is the difference between being a couple, being roommates and soulmates? It does feel like you're roommates after a while, doesn't it? You come and you go, and you have meals together, and you hang out, and, what really is the difference? Romance. That's really the difference. I mean, if romance isn't in the equation, then you might as well be roommates. I mean, would you agree with that? It's sort of like you're living together, and, life can be good. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you want passion, romance is the key. So what do you think is the difference between love and romance? Do you think they're the same thing, or do you think they're different? Now, if you were to consult a dictionary or, most people on the street, you would find out that love is a profoundly tender, passionate affection for another person. You love another person. And Darlene, I got to tell you, I love that picture.
That's a great picture.
On this slide, yeah. It's like, a couple who grew old together, and that's how I want us to be.
Huh.
So yeah, very cool. So love being a profoundly tender, passionate affection for another person. Love, then, is a feeling. It happens inside you. It's an experience you're having inside you. Now, romance is, if you consult the dictionary, or what most people, understand romance to be, it's to court or woo with ardor. Ardor, whatever that is. It sounds good. So romance is an action. Romance is something you do. It's not just a feeling. And that really is the key. So in today's program, we definitely want to cover, solid strategies and things you can do to experience romance, create romance, boost romance, and not just for Valentine's Day or for February, even though, this is what we're leading up to pretty soon, but, every day, every week, year-round in your life and your relationship. So we define radical romance as to energetically, creatively, and continuously express your love and woo your partner. Now, wouldn't you like to be in a relationship like that? Wouldn't you like it if your partner was to energetically, creatively, and continuously express their love and woo you? Or is it okay they kind of take you for granted and you guys got habits and routines and, you know, you have sex maybe once a week or once every other week and, you know, you go through an entire meal without even looking at each other or talking to each other? You know, what kind of relationship do you want? What kind of life do you want? What kind of experience do you want with your partner? So in our experience, it is absolutely realistic and possible to do this on a sustainable basis, to energetically, creatively, and continuously express your love and woo your partner. It's not always something you feel like doing. It's not always something that's easy to find the time to do, but then that's what makes it special, is that you are making a conscious choice to do it, just like exercise, just like eating healthy. These are action you're taking because your marriage, you know, your partnership, your relationship, your life together is your most important asset. It's the thing that you value the most, or at least really, really, really high up there. So, 3 requirements of radical romance. And this is true for just about everything in radical marriage. It involves an attitude, it involves actions or things you do, and it involves strategies or, you know, ways that you can do things. And as opposed to just trying this, trying that, or, you know, being random or trial and error. So attitude, actions, and strategies. So example of attitude would be striving to be the best partner you can be. Now, we all love it when our partner is wonderful to us. We can always be a better partner to our partner. And so striving is something that it's important not to take yourself or your relationship, your marriage, or your partner for granted. So when you are striving, you are absolutely appreciating and realizing that when you stop striving, that's when atrophy occurs. That's when things start going downhill. And so strive to be the best partner you can be. It's sort of an ongoing attitude that really makes for the best relationships. Another one is taking 100% responsibility for your outcomes in the relationship. So are you going to complain that you don't get enough affection or that your relationship isn't romantic enough? Or are you going to take 100% responsibility for the romance or lack thereof in the relationship? Really, really important, and that's why we emphasize in radical marriage so strongly, you know, prioritizing your partner's happiness, taking responsibility for your own happiness. It really does seem to be a necessary equation for success. And if you're not doing this, you'll be miserable, or at least you'll be bored, or at least you'll be indifferent. You know, it really is the formula for success. Striving to be the best partner you can be, prioritizing your partner's happiness, and taking 100% responsibility for your own outcomes. So in terms of action, you know, we have opportunities every day to show up and take action to make our partner happy, to let your partner know that they're loved, that you love them, that you appreciate them, that they're important to you. Or you can go through every day ignoring your partner and live like roommates. But we know what kind of life and what kind of relationship do you want? And, you know, we assume you're here because you want to have a radical marriage. You want to have a relationship that is close and loving and intimate and romantic. So every day we have opportunities to make our partner happy, and we need to do something every day. Your everyday actions express your love for your partner and the value you place on your relationship. So it's sort of like, you know, what you do is more important than what you say. What you do every day is much more important and says a lot more about you than what you do on Valentine's Day. So it is wonderful if you give your partner, you know, flowers and candy and a massage and a romantic dinner and everything else on Valentine's Day, but what you do every day is much, much, much more important. seemed like you wanted to say something about that.
Well, yeah, it seems like people all the time that say, my husband never tells me he loves me, but I know he does. Right? There's always that the actions that people take. You can just sense when somebody loves you. But one of the things that I wanted to say was everybody kind of feels loved in a different way. So, in fact, when we were preparing for this program, I said to David, I don't feel like a authority on romance because I don't fit that, kind of some of those cliches when it comes to what people think of as romance, like the flowers and the candy and I don't know, the gifts and stuff like that. That isn't the kind of stuff that feels romantic to me. But when David sits down and watches one of my TV shows happily and actually puts it on intentionally for me, that makes me feel loved. That's how I know I feel loved.
And would you consider that to be romantic?
It's incredibly romantic, right? Because that is the actions that you take that you're doing for my happiness. I mean, I know that's why I know you don't want to watch Project Runway. I know that.
How do you know? It's been long enough. I think I've gotten into it now. So, I wish it were that easy. I just turn on the TV shows your partner wants to see, and they will experience, being loved, and they will experience as romantic. And I am so lucky to be married to somebody who's that easy to please. So thank you, sweetheart, for being you. So anything else about that? Okay. All right, move right along. So, do something, please. Do something every day to make your marriage the best marriage possible. Turn on Project Runway even if it's not your thing. Prioritize your partner's happiness. This is where romance starts. So, in terms of strategies, in today's program, we would like to share with you 3 strategies for radical romance, and they involve using the relationship journal, which is found all over the place. It's in the Radical Marriage book. It's an e-book all on its own, and in the Radical Marriage book, it is used as a tool, one of the tools for radical intimacy and for radical communication, as well as radical romance. So we're going to talk about how to use the relationship journal for radical romance. We're going to talk about conducting your own radical marriage retreat. If you want radical romance, a radical marriage retreat is just a ticket. Yeah, I can't wait to talk about that. And then one-way dates. When it comes to boosting romance and experiencing romance and being romantic, in my experience, and I'm no spring chicken. To be honest, I'm 57, and this is my 3rd marriage, and I've been around the block a few times, and I have never, ever experienced such an effective way to create romance in a relationship on a regular, ongoing basis as one-way dates. So I am absolutely excited to share that with you today. So, radical romance strategy number 1, the relationship journal. This is our all-time favorite tool to take your romantic intentions to the next level. We use it here at Relationship Coaching Institute to facilitate communication and relationship building. We've included it in the Radical Romance book. It really does help you discover and communicate and address needs and issues and goals in a way that's really hard to do by talking by itself. Talking's good. And often when a relationship gets stuck or it's experiencing challenges, talking is really best facilitated with a coach or a counselor, a therapist, something like that. Some neutral third party that can help you, talk at a really deep, respectful, honoring, meaningful level. But it's really hard to do that on your own. However, the relationship journal can help you communicate, and not just talking, communicate in a very deep, meaningful way to effectively address needs and issues and goals and boost your romance, as we're going to talk about. So, the steps of the relationship journal. Step 1, get a blank book or a spiral notebook. And you have a choice. You can have individual relationship journals, or you can share a relationship journal. I've done it where, one partner writes on one side of the page and the other partner writes on the other side of the page. So that's kind of a cool way to do it. But logistically, it's easier if you each have your own journals that you can write in at any time. And then step 2, schedule some time, at least 30 minutes, and agree on frequency. In the beginning, we recommend it about 3 times a week, maybe even more, when you're really working on your relationship and your relationship needs a lot of work. Then prioritize the time. When you're in maintenance mode and, things are good in your relationship, then, once a week or a couple times a month or even once a month is fine. So agree on a frequency and agree on a time and place. It's good to have an idea of certainly a start time, but also an ending time because, people have, schedules to juggle and other responsibilities. And, we do want to carve out the time and prioritize the time. And it's easier to do that if we know when it's going to start and end. So step 2 is schedule at least 30 minutes for the process on a regular basis. Put on your calendar. Make an appointment. Step 3, don't wait for your partner to remember or initiate. You go ahead and initiate it. When the time comes, drop whatever you're doing and create your intimate space in whatever way that works for you. And that can be, locking the door. It can be turning off the cell phone ringer. Whatever is needed for you and your partner to feel like you're ready to shut out the rest of the world and really, be together and connect and focus on your relationship. And step 4 is go ahead and make your entry in the relationship journal. And, you don't have to do this just during the appointed time. You can write in your relationship journal any time. I like the idea of just, as it occurs to you, break out your relationship journal and make a note. And so then you are, focusing on your relationship. You're working on your relationship all the time, not just when you're meeting together. And when you make your entry in your relationship journal, when it's relationship journal time, you're both making your entry individually, and do not read your partner's entry until you finished yours. So both people should be finished before you start reading. So the entry, what might you write? There is no absolute answer to that. We have some suggestions, and you can create your own. I love it when couples, design their own relationship and design their own exercises and design how they want to use their relationship journal. That's, do it in a way that's best for you, that works best for you. Here's just a suggestion. So first thing you might do is to write down what you appreciate about your partner today. And the word today there is very, very intentional. It's like right now, in this moment, what do you appreciate about your partner? Not overall globally, all the various wonderful traits and everything you appreciate about them. What are you in touch with right now? And then you might write out what issues are you aware of in your relationship today. And again, this is not what are all the issues in your relationship. This is what are you in touch with, what are you experiencing right now, right here, and go ahead and write them down. This is not about everything in the kitchen sink. This is about what's coming up for you right now. And then, what needs can you identify that you're experiencing in your relationship today? And checking in with yourself, what are you feeling like you're needing? What do you need from your partner? What do you need to feel loved? What do you need to be happy? And go ahead and write those down. And this is a snapshot in time, but chances are, these needs are much larger than right now. And chances are you have more needs than what you're in touch with right now. But don't worry about that. The idea here is not to come up with an exhaustive list. The idea is to bring out what you are in touch with, what's coming up for you right now. And one tip about needs is that every issue that you identified, every problem, an issue or problem, kind of the same thing. It's just semantics. So whatever you got in touch with as an issue or a problem in your relationship, something that's annoying you or bugging you or something that you experience as an issue or a problem, if you turn that around 180 degrees on the other side of the coin or whatever metaphor you want to use, that is going to be a need. So an issue is an unmet need. So what is the need? Identify the need. And so go over the issues that you noted and write out what the positive need would be, that if this was in place, the issue would be addressed effectively.
So David, can you this program is about radical romance, and we're talking about sitting down with a journal and writing out your issues and writing out some problems. So can you relate that to feeling romantic and feeling romance in your life?
Yeah, great question, and also a challenging question. This is about what's real for you. This is about being present. Romance is not about pretending that you're in love. It's about experiencing and practicing love. Romance is not about creating some sort of fake, artificial, hallmark experience. Romance is about, making your partner and your relationship important enough to show up and do something about it. So just like you experience romance as me turning on Project One Way for you, it is highly romantic for a couple to get together and go through a relationship journal process because they are showing up. They are letting each other know that their relationship is important enough that they'd rather do this than anything else.
And that is really, that's a very good point, because I can tell you most people don't enjoy writing. A lot of people don't enjoy putting down feelings and talking about feelings. So it is really, that's a very honoring thing to do as a couple.
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I didn't say write out your feelings.
But that is what's coming out.
Yeah. But actually, the writing part, even if people don't like to write or have trouble writing, there's something about the going inside and coming up with something to write that is very, very different than talking. Talking comes from a different place than writing, and so they go really, really well together. So don't just talk, write it out as well. And so what needs can you identify that you're experiencing in your relationship today? And this is actually very romantic because it's like you are giving yourself and your partner the formula for romance and happiness and love and connection. If your needs are addressed, you will feel happy and connected and loved and loving. So another suggested entry is, what did you do today or recently to improve your relationship? What did you do for your relationship? This might seem a little weird, but most couples, we do a lot that, the other person doesn't even see. And this is about, it's not about looking for kudos. or fishing for appreciation. It's about getting in touch with, how are you showing up, and what have you done, and what are you doing? And so it's a chance to kind of check in with yourself about that and write it out and to share that with your partner. And, chances are there's some cool stuff that you've done that your partner doesn't even know about that they would love to know about. So it might seem a little weird, but I really do like this entry a lot. And, of course, there's sex. So a suggestion is to reflect upon your last sexual experience and identify what you liked and what you want to do differently next time. Chances are there's always something that you liked and something that would make it even better for you. And so go ahead and identify what that was, what that is. And my experience in doing this on a regular basis is that you come to know yourself even better, because things that you're sort of experiencing but you're not really conscious or aware of, when you're writing it out and you're sharing it with your partner, you actually come to know yourself better and become a better sexual partner and know what it is you can ask for and request and initiate much better, and your partner can know you better. So this is, when you do this on a regular basis, it really does enhance your sexual relationship tremendously. I mean, this all by itself. Best form of sex therapy there is. Then, step 5, what do? You go ahead and swap, and you read each other's entry. And when you're done reading, you ask clarifying questions. So what do you mean about that? Or, what does this say? I can't read your writing, or, whatever. And it's really important to try to be neutral and non-judgmental and non-defensive. It's whatever your partner wrote in their journal, that's their truth. And you want to love them and accept them for who they are. And so please do make it your goal to accept everything they write in the journal. 100%. Embrace it 100%. Do not, judge it as, right, wrong, good, or bad. Do not be defensive about it. Do not be upset about it. And then start a conversation. Start by acknowledging your partner's appreciations. Make sure each issue has a matching need identified. And sometimes you really, in my experience, sometimes it's hard to identify what the need is. You're more in touch with the problem, and what you don't like, it's kind of hard to figure out, what would fix it or what the need is, and articulate it clearly enough and specifically enough to know how it can be addressed. Well, I want to be happy. Well, how do you make somebody happy? That's really general. So you got to be really, really, really specific. Sometimes it takes a bit of coaching, a bit of question asking, a bit of exploring to identify that. That's been my experience. And then discuss the needs one by one, negotiate, brainstorm, be open, be flexible, find a win-win solution. There's always a third option. There's always a win-win solution. And to me, this is the fun part. This is, planning, what are we going to do? We've gathered all this information. We've gotten in touch with our truth. We've shared our truth with each other. Now what? What are we going to do with it? And this is really co-creating your relationship. And to me, there's nothing more romantic than sitting down together to co-create your relationship very consciously, very intentionally. We're not just going to let whatever happens happen. We're not going to fall into habits and patterns and be comfortable and have unconscious routines. We're going to consciously co-create our relationship. To me, that is radical romance. And that's what we're doing in this step. And then lastly, whatever you come up with in terms of plans or what you're going to do or what might meet the needs, go ahead and record them in the journal. And be pretty specific, lay it all out in terms of what we're going to do and when we're going to do it and who's going to do what, and assume that all needs are valid. Assume that there is always a solution, there's always a way, and I got to tell you, since we published the Radical Marriage book, I don't know about you, Darlene, but I have gotten the most flack about one of the principles of radical marriage, to never say no. Always say yes. Always find something you can say yes to. I've gotten the most flack about that. Say, well, what about this and what about this? How can you possibly say yes to this? Or how can you possibly find anything to say yes to about this? And, trust me, if you are open and you're flexible and you're willing to stretch a little bit and you prioritize your partner's happiness, you can always find something to say yes to. You might need a little bit of creativity. You might need a little bit of negotiation, but you can always find something to say yes to.
Well, the say yes can be an acknowledgement that this is important to you, and that it's valid. I mean, the yes doesn't have to be yes. I'm going to sell my house and run away to another country with you. I mean, it doesn't have to be a very specific thing. It just has to be a positive response to whatever you're requesting.
Right. And so it's not about saying yes 100%. It's about finding something you can say yes to so that you can positively respond to your partner. So be creative. And lastly, keep your agreements, whatever you come up with. Keep those agreements and make it your mission to keep those agreements. Sometimes the agreements that you make are going to be behavior changes. They're going to be new things. And so you might want to answer the question for yourself, well, how can I remember this? How can I, change an old habit that I have to do this on a regular basis? So, it's not just about the intention to keep agreements. Well, strategize and make some plans about how you can remember and prompt yourself or prompt each other to keep the agreements that you made. And this is the real last step, the closing ritual. It's okay. Now you have intentionally gotten together to co-create your relationship. You've gone through a relationship journal process, and this is really romantic to do this, even if it identifies problems and gets you in touch, with some issues. But you're co-creating your relationship and your life together, and you've had a very productive, positive time together. And how do you want to close that? What sort of ritual would be helpful, to close it for now, and so that you guys can go on with your life and keep the romantic energy going and keep the connection going, even though it's back to changing diapers and going back to work and, cleaning the garage and making dinner and doing dishes and all that, routine stuff. Have a closing ritual that really promotes keeping the energy alive between you two as a result of the relationship journal process, even after it's over.
So one of my very favorite closing rituals would be a hug. A real hug, not a
real hug. Okay,
not like the kind of hug.
Go ahead and define for us what a real hug is in Darlene's world.
It's not the kind of hug you give your mother, right? It's a very sincere. I'm in this with you, 100%. That kind of hug that you can feel the energy just flowing between the two of you.
Yeah, and there's several signs that you've achieved that. One of them is when you start breathing together. I would say, but yeah, and so if you ever wonder what a real hug is, just give it a try and keep on doing it until you're there. So that is the relationship journal. That's strategy number 1 for radical romance. Strategy number 2 is a radical marriage retreat. Use a romantic retreat as a way to add romance to the relationship journal process. So I have done this where, got away for the weekend, seaside cottage, something like that, spent the entire darn weekend with the relationship journal, with breaks for, breakfast, lunch, dinner, things like that. It can really be an extensive, radical marriage retreat. And what's very cool is that the relationship journal makes it possible for this to be self-guided. You can do this yourself. But I tell you, it is also really cool to have it be facilitated by a coach or a facilitator, somebody who has experience with this. And you can do it as a group or you can do it privately. But a facilitator is really able to, deepen the retreat for you. It is absolutely possible for a couple to conduct a self-led retreat with a relationship journal. Absolutely. I've no doubt about that. I've experienced it myself. But there's many folks that need a little bit more guidance, need a little bit more support. So, if you give this a try and you struggle with it, don't give up. It just means that you might need some outside support first before you get the hang of doing it on your own. So it is really, really, really romantic. I mean, imagine what it's like to spend like a half an hour going through the relationship journal process with your partner and really checking in on a deep, meaningful level, and versus doing that for like an entire weekend or an entire week. We are very shortly we're going to be on our radical marriage cruise. We're going to spend an entire week with couples leading a radical marriage retreat. And so we're not going to be in our cabins the entire time with the relationship journal. We'll definitely be having fun and having breakfast, lunch, and dinner, all that. But it's very cool to do it in pieces at a time. And so you are able to space it out over a week rather than, doing it really intensely for a whole day or a weekend. It's different. But a weekend is cool. So here's how you would conduct your radical marriage retreat. And by the way, all the slides are downloadable. We're going to provide a handout that you can download. So after the program, you'll be able to download the recording, download the handout, all these steps, everything you need to know. You don't necessarily need to write everything down. Right now, you can relax and just take it in and experience it. So here's how you might conduct a radical marriage retreat. First of all, you together express and set your intention. What are your intentions for your time together? What is it that you want to create? What do you want the end result to be? And then co-create the retreat with your partner. Co-create it from start to finish. This is cool. I mean, as a relationship professional, we are really, really used to coming up with exercises and structured things for our clients to do. But you know what? They don't need it. They don't really need us to do that. You are smart. You can create these things for yourself. And so co-create the retreat from start to finish. And start the retreat like starting the relationship journal by creating an intimate space. That's mental, psychological, emotional, physical. It includes locking the doors and turn off the cell phone ringers. And, what else does it include? Lighting candles, having tea, setting pillows in the middle of the floor, whatever it means to you. And then use the relationship journal to identify dreams and wants and needs and issues and how to address them. But, on an everyday basis, at home, in your everyday context, it's really hard to get in touch with, those larger dreams that you have. when you get away from home, when you get away from your everyday life, you're able to kind of get much better perspective, and you're able to get in touch with those dreams that you had years ago that you forgot about. You're able to get in touch with, new dreams that you might have and co-create with your partner. There's something about getting out of your everyday life that really lends itself to dreaming and, having a great life and having a great life together really comes from your dreams. It's like, marrying the man or woman of your dreams. That's the start. Then having your dream life together, that's an ongoing process. And, your dream, your vision, those words to me are pretty interchangeable, pretty much the same thing. But, your vision is this inner guidance system, this inner image inside you that you want to create, that you want to make real, that you want to express, that you want it to go from inside you to reality. And you can absolutely do that, and this is what we focus on as coaches, helping our client get in touch with what they really, really want and helping them make it real. That is the best darn job in the whole wide world. That is so exciting. And a lot of the times clients come to a coach with a problem. Say, well, I have this problem to solve. I need your help with it. Okay, and, that's a fine place to start. And hiring a professional because you got to solve a problem, that's pretty understandable and normal. But the real power is not in focusing on the things that are wrong and the problems in your life that you want to fix. The real power is focusing on your dreams and going after them and making them real. That is where the juice comes from. That is cool. So use the relationship term to identify especially your dreams and your wants as well as your, needs issues and how to address them. And then use the retreat, your radical marriage retreat, to not only to create your dreams together, but revisit your dreams together. So you don't just create a dream or talk about it. You create a dream, you talk about it, and then you find ways to implement it. You make plans, you strategize, you make agreements, you even write them down, make a plan, a written plan. And then these dreams, they're no longer in your head, they're no longer just wishes, they are becoming real. And then you need to revisit them. Are we on track? Is there something that we need to change? Is there something that needs to improve? And so this is an ongoing process. So you would use a relationship journal and you would use a retreat, a regular retreat, like once a year at least. And, Valentine's Day is a great landmark for a relationship. And so our intention is to have a radical marriage retreat every Valentine's Day. It's sort of like, tax time. It comes around. It's a definite date every year, easy to remember. Well, Valentine's Day. And certainly with most couples, if they don't do anything for their relationship all year, at least they feel obligated to on Valentine's Day. Well, we'd like you to do a little more than that, but at least if you do nothing, if you don't do the relationship journal or you don't have a little getaway and focus on your relationship, at all, at least do it around Valentine's Day, and we highly recommend a radical marriage retreat. And so one thing that you can seriously consider, if you have trouble getting around this on your own, or you try it and you sort of struggle with it, is go ahead and join an existing retreat or hire a radical marriage coach to facilitate your own private retreat. It is the best gift that you can give your life together and your relationship. Absolutely. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is all that's needed to have your very own radical marriage retreat. Nothing more romantic than that. Very cool. Anything you want to add to that, sweetheart?
No, I don't think so. I think you covered it.
Okay. And I know you like it when I do the lecturing, the explanation part. So, okay. There we go. Strategy number 3, one-way dates. One-way dates. What the heck do we mean by that? There's a little bit of a problem here. The problem is that couples need to regularly get out of their routine and recharge their romance. That's why they need to continually date. Most couples stop dating. They figure, I'm not single anymore. I don't need to date anymore. We're a couple now. But then they lose the romantic energy. They get into habits and routines, and then things get stale. So they need to continually recharge their relationship and their romance by continually dating. And you know what? Most couples know that. So, intellectually they know it, but they don't necessarily do it. So if you ask yourself or ask another couple, when's the last time you guys went on a date? I bet you the answer is going to be a long time.
And people complain about this a lot. This is something that people want in their life but don't have.
Yeah. So the other problem with dates, when they do happen, is that we tend to fall into compromise traps. I call it a compromise trap or a negotiation trap. To me, there's a bit of a difference. And again, this is semantics maybe, but to me, negotiation means to negotiate a difference between two people and, find an outcome, an alternative that makes you both happy. So it's a good thing. Negotiation is a good thing. There's nothing wrong with negotiation. Compromise is a little different than negotiation. Compromise is to have a difference with your partner and to meet in the middle someplace. So you're both giving up something in order to meet in the middle. And so it's a bit different than negotiation, because with negotiation, you're both happy with the outcome. You're both getting what you want. With compromise, you're giving up something you want in order to make it work. And it is a trap, because if you consider a date as something that has to please both people, then you are always going to either negotiate or compromise. Negotiate or compromise, negotiate or compromise every time. And this really struck home for me in my first marriage, because we compromised everything. And, I put it in the Radical Marriage book how we compromised on movies. We always compromised on movies. And so for 10 years of that marriage, we would compromise something that was acceptable to both of us. And, I'm a guy. I like, war movies and adventure movies and sci-fi and she didn't. She liked, love stories and anything that had animals in it. So we always compromise. And compromise on what? Comedies and dramas. That was pretty much it. So for 10 years, I really didn't realize this until, we divorced. For 10 years, I missed out on Indiana Jones, on Star Trek, Star Wars, and I caught up on all that after divorce, and I realized, man, you can really get trapped in compromising. And you can go for a long time and not get what you really want if all you do is compromise. So it really is a trap. So it is rare to have the experience you really want in your date or your relationship if you always fall back on negotiation or compromise. Wouldn't it be nice for you to get what you really want sometimes? 100%. And wouldn't it be really nice, would you be willing to, allow your partner to experience what they really want? 100%. Does everything need to be a compromise? So we propose one-way dates as the solution. 4 types of one-way dates. Date number 1 is where you create a romantic experience for your partner. You create the experience that you believe would make them 100% happy. This is not about you at all. This is all about them. You're prioritizing their happiness. You want to create an experience for them. And then type 2 dates is your partner creates a romantic experience for you. Your partner pulls out the stops and creates an experience that he or she believes would be totally wonderful for you, would make you totally, totally happy, and it'd be all about you. 100%. And then type 3 dates are create a romantic experience for yourself. Now, this might sound a little funny, it might sound a little selfish, but you're gonna go out on a date, and what would make you radically, ecstatically happy? What kind of date would you like to go on 100% if you didn't have to negotiate or compromise a single thing?
So a lot of people have trouble with this because as we're talking about this, maybe I want to go out dancing and I know you hate dancing. So it would be really tough for a person to say, we're going to go dancing on our date. But that is exactly what we're talking about.
Well, it might be tough to say we are going to go to dancing on this date, but in this kind of date and in radical marriage, when it's your turn to create the romantic experience that you really want to have, your partner is just so on board with prioritizing your happiness and helping you have the experience that you really want, they are going to do it even if they hate it.
And the point is, you need to have the attitude, that radical attitude that says, this is not something I would want to do myself, but I cannot wait to do this. I cannot wait to give you this gift. I am so excited to go dancing.
Yes, exactly. It's about having a good attitude even if you hate it. It's like, do it for your partner. Then type 4 dates is your partner creates a romantic experience for their self. And now it's your turn to totally support them to have the experience that they really want. And, this is really, really cool. And how often does it happen that you get to have things exactly your way? It's wonderful if your partner creates an experience for you, but then that's their idea of what would make you happy. But it makes you feel totally loved that they do that, and it's so cool to see what they come up with. But you know what? It's so cool to create your own experience and do it exactly the way you want it, because you know exactly what you want. You know exactly what will make you happy. There's no guessing involved. And so here are 4 dates. Creating a romantic experience for your partner. Your partner creates a romantic experience for you, creating a romantic experience for yourself, and your partner creates a romantic experience for their self. Each one of these dates is so juicy and so fun and so meaningful and involves so much intention. And it's the opposite of selfish. You're not compromising, you're not negotiating. That might seem selfish to not negotiate, but you're going to have way more fun. It's going to be way more romantic. And so try it. I really do think that you will enjoy this, and you might not decide to ever do any other kind of date. In fact, we have some suggestions for you about implementing one-way dates. The first is to co-create it. So create a plan for how you are going to implement one-way dates. So co-create the system. Create a system. It's not just about one date. It's about doing this on an ongoing basis. So they work much better if you are both on board with doing this. And then schedule it. Get your calendar out and schedule the dates far ahead of time. And then you'll be able to plan for it. You'll be able to anticipate it. And this is not the kind of thing that it works very well to do it at the last minute. Oops, I'm supposed to create an experience for you tomorrow. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? You know, it works much better if it's planned ahead of time, if it's anticipated. You know, then you can order those opera tickets. You can, you know, get the ingredients together for that romantic meal that you're going to cook. You can book the romantic hotel room. You know, there are things that you can only do ahead of time. Don't do this at the last minute. Plan it. Yep, just what I said. And, you know, a quality experience does require intent and forethought. As much as people value spontaneity, you know, spontaneity might feel romantic, and it is, you know, romantic to spontaneously wish somebody off to Paris, or spontaneously be in the mood for sex, or spontaneously say I love you. But you know what? I think if we leave everything to spontaneity, then you know, our life's not going to work. You know, let's see. Do I feel like paying the bills right now? Do I feel like going to work right now? You know, it doesn't quite work that way. So for radical marriage, you know, it might seem less romantic, but it does work far, far better to prioritize your relationship, plan it, schedule it, make it happen with intention.
Well, it doesn't mean you can't have spontaneous romance too. It's just that you plan what you can.
Yeah. And then go ahead and own it. You know, this is the romantic, creating the romantic experience of your dreams or your partner's dreams without compromising at all. You know, own that. So, sweetheart, this is my idea of the romantic experience of your dreams. And, you know, I'm not going to be afraid of failing or making a mistake or offending you. This is my sincere idea, what would make you ecstatically happy. Or this is what would make me ecstatically happy. No apologies. And we talked about agreements in the relationship journal, and it definitely applies here. You know, keep your agreements. Keep those dates. Your relationship and your life is going to suck if the day comes around, it was your turn to create an experience for your partner and you forgot. Or you got busy and got distracted. So keep your agreements. There's nothing more important than keeping your agreements in your relationship. That's the basis of trust. That goes without saying. That also goes without saying. I'm not even going to say it. Okay. Another suggestion is to budget it. You know, it doesn't require a lot of money. It doesn't require any money. In fact, the best dates require zero money. But, you know, discuss it and set an agreement around, you know, your budget and how much to spend and what the limits might be. You know, for most people, you know, money is limited. And it doesn't have to limit your happiness and your life together. It doesn't have to limit your romance. It doesn't have to limit your dates at all. In fact, you might be creative and make an agreement that the one-way dates have a $20 limit.
Or you have a set of dates that maybe has a larger budget, and then ones that have $20 limits.
Yeah. So, and enjoy, you know, have a positive attitude for each date, even if it's not something that you're crazy about, you know. support your partner to have the experience that they want, that they deserve, and they in turn will support you to have the experience that you want, that you deserve. And remember, going all the way back to the definition of romance is to woo your partner with ardor. So the energy is towards your partner. It's not on you. It's not on what you need or what you want or what you like or what you don't like. The energy is on your partner, and that seems to be a key ingredient to romance. And we also suggest don't plan a date based on what your partner did last time, or scratch it. Start from scratch. Start each date with a blank slate. Don't keep score. I mean, it's not good in a relationship to keep score, and it's also not good for dates to keep score. Don't try to one-up each other. Don't try to match what the level of what happened before. Start each date from scratch with a blank slate. And that is everything we have for you around radical romance. We covered using the relationship journal for radical romance. We covered creating your own radical marriage retreat for radical romance. And we covered one-way dates for radical romance. And what all of these strategies have in common is that we highly recommend them for creating radical romance in your radical marriage on an ongoing basis. Not something you do just once, not something you do just during Valentine's Day. So, thank you for joining us. Happy Valentine's Day, by the way. And we really do sincerely wish for you that you live the life you love with the love of your life and have the most radical marriage together possible. And we hope this program in some small way is going to support you to do that. And please do download the handouts, the slides, the audio, review it again, and, if that would help you, or pass it around. And thanks for joining us. We will see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.